Imagine owning a business where you wake up on Monday morning, check your phone, and discover that money came in while you were asleep. No employees are waiting for you to unlock the door. No customer is calling because you forgot to show up. No boss is demanding that you work another 12-hour shift. The business is operating because the systems, machines, software, employees, tenants, or customers are doing most of the work. That sounds almost too good to be true. And in some cases, it is. Because a business that can run without its owner is very different from a business that does run without its owner. The difference is where the real money is. Welcome to Money Explained Differently, where we uncover the hidden side of money and explain the financial stories most people never see. So what businesses actually have the potential to operate without the owner standing there every day? And more importantly, why do some ordinary-looking businesses become valuable assets while others simply create another job for their owner? Let's start with one of the simplest examples. A machine. 1. Vending machines. A vending machine doesn't need a receptionist. It doesn't need a sales team. And it doesn't need an owner sitting behind a counter. Once a machine is placed in a good location, customers can buy snacks and drinks automatically. The owner mainly needs to restock inventory, maintain the machine, handle payments, and manage the locations. And those jobs can eventually be delegated. That's the important distinction. The vending machine itself isn't the business. The system around the machine is the business. Someone finds locations. Someone negotiates agreements. Someone monitors inventory. Someone repairs equipment. And software can increasingly help track sales and stock. The biggest mistake is assuming that putting a machine somewhere automatically creates passive income. A machine in a bad location can sit there collecting dust. The asset matters. But the location matters even more. And that's a theme you'll see again and again. The closer a business gets to operating through repeatable systems instead of the owner's personal labor, the more scalable it becomes. But the next business takes that idea much further. 2. Self-storage. Think about the last time you drove past a self-storage facility. Rows of small doors. A gate. Security cameras. Maybe one tiny office. And potentially hundreds of customers paying every month. That's what makes self-storage fascinating. The customer doesn't need an employee standing beside their unit every day. Many modern facilities use automated gates, online payments, cameras, electronic locks, and remote management. An owner can hire contractors for maintenance and use management companies for daily operations. The business still requires oversight. But the owner doesn't necessarily need to be physically present. And here's the hidden economic advantage. Customers often keep paying month after month. The business isn't constantly starting from zero. That recurring revenue can make a huge difference. But self-storage requires substantial capital, good locations, zoning, maintenance, security, and careful management. So it isn't truly passive. It's simply more system-friendly than many traditional businesses. And that distinction is crucial. 3. Laundromats. A laundromat looks almost like a simple machine business. Customers bring clothes. They pay. Machines wash and dry. They leave. But behind that simplicity is a surprisingly interesting business model. Modern laundromats can use card or app-based payments, automated monitoring, security cameras, and outsourced cleaning and maintenance. The owner doesn't necessarily have to stand behind a counter all day. But here's the catch. Machines break. Utilities cost money. Customers can damage equipment. And a dirty laundromat can lose customers quickly. So the real business isn't machines making money. It's owning and managing a reliable system that customers repeatedly use. And once again, we're seeing the same pattern. Automation doesn't eliminate work. It changes who performs the work. For automated car wash. This is one of the clearest examples. You drive in. The machine scans or processes your payment. The equipment washes the vehicle. You drive out. The owner doesn't wash a single car personally. But someone still has to manage equipment, chemicals, employees, repairs, property, insurance, marketing, and customer service. A successful car wash can therefore become an operation where the owner focuses primarily on numbers and management instead of manually providing the service. And that distinction can dramatically change the value of a business. A car wash dependent on its owner washing cars is basically a job. A car wash with standardized operations, trained staff, automated equipment, and reliable demand is much closer to an asset. But what if you don't want to own a giant physical facility? There's another option. 5. Parking lots. A parking lot might be one of the most boring businesses imaginable. And that's exactly why it can be interesting. People park. They pay. They leave. Technology can handle payments, access control, cameras, reservations, and enforcement. The owner can outsource maintenance and management. The physical asset does much of the work. But the hidden factor is location. A parking lot near a busy downtown district, stadium, hospital, airport, or transportation hub can have completely different economics from an empty lot in an area nobody visits. The lesson isn't parking lots are easy money. The lesson is that land combined with recurring demand can create a business that requires relatively little daily labor. And now we move into a business where the customer may barely interact with the owner at all. 6. Rental properties. A rental property is essentially a business built around a physical asset. A tenant pays rent. A property manager can handle maintenance, tenant communication, inspections, and repairs. The owner can monitor the financial performance without personally handling every problem. But real estate is often misunderstood as passive income. It isn't. There are vacancies, repairs, property taxes, insurance, financing costs, legal issues, and unexpected maintenance. A property can generate income while also producing large expenses. The goal isn't to pretend those costs don't exist. The goal is to understand that ownership can be separated from daily operation. And that principle appears in one of the most overlooked businesses on this list. 7. Equipment rental. Imagine owning pressure washers, trailers, construction equipment, party supplies, tools, or other specialized equipment. Customers rent the equipment for a day, weekend, or week. They pick it up or have it delivered. You collect payment. The equipment goes back into inventory. A properly organized operation can use online booking, automated payments, inventory tracking, and employees or contractors for handoffs and maintenance. The owner doesn't have to personally operate the equipment. They own the assets. That's an important difference. Instead of selling your time, you're renting access to something people already want. And that brings us to another business based on the same principle. 8. Dumpster rental. It isn't glamorous. But that's precisely the point. Construction projects, home renovations, cleanouts, and businesses create waste. Someone has to provide the container. Customers pay for the rental. A driver delivers it. Later, the container gets picked up and emptied. With enough containers and a properly organized scheduling system, the owner can focus on managing routes, pricing, marketing, and finances rather than personally doing every delivery. Again, the system becomes more valuable than the owner's personal labor. And that's a recurring pattern across almost every business on this list. 9. ATM businesses. ATMs can operate around the clock without an employee standing beside them. The machine processes transactions. Customers pay fees. The owner or operator manages cash, maintenance, compliance, location agreements, and servicing. The attractive part is obvious. The machine can produce transactions while nobody is physically present. But the risks are easy to ignore. Cash has to be replenished. Machines can break. Locations can lose traffic. Regulatory and banking requirements matter. And transaction volume can vary dramatically. So once again, the machine isn't magic. The location and economics determine whether the machine is actually valuable. 10. Digital products. Now we leave the physical world. Imagine creating an online course, spreadsheet template, educational guide, design asset, software tool, or other digital product. You create it once. A customer purchases it online. The payment is processed automatically. The product is delivered automatically. There may be no warehouse, no shipping truck, no physical inventory, and potentially no employee involved in each individual sale. This is one of the most scalable business models because the cost of delivering one additional digital copy can be extremely low. But there's a hidden problem. Creating the product isn't the hardest part. Getting customers is. A digital product nobody knows about doesn't generate passive income. Marketing, search traffic, advertising, partnerships, and audience building still require work. And that leads directly to the next model. 11. Affiliate websites. Imagine building a website that reviews products or explains solutions to common problems. A visitor reads an article. They click a recommendation. They purchase something from another company. The website receives a commission. The owner doesn't manufacture the product. They don't ship it. They don't handle returns. They simply connect the customer to the seller. If the website ranks in search engines and continues receiving visitors, some sales can happen without the owner personally talking to every customer. But again, passive doesn't mean effortless. Websites require content, maintenance, technical work, competition management, and traffic. The asset is the audience and the distribution system. And that's an incredibly important idea. 12. Print-on-demand stores. You design a shirt. A customer orders it. A third-party company prints the shirt and ships it. You don't need a garage full of inventory. You don't need to package every order. You don't need a warehouse. The supplier handles much of the physical process. Your job is primarily design, marketing, customer experience, and managing the store. The model can be highly automated. But margins can be thinner than people expect, and competition is enormous. Automation reduces labor. It doesn't automatically create demand. 13. Subscription software. This is where the idea becomes even more powerful. Imagine creating software that solves a specific problem. Customers subscribe every month. The software delivers the service automatically. Payments recur. Customer onboarding can be automated. Support can be handled by a team. Updates can be deployed remotely. The owner doesn't need to personally perform the service for every customer. That's why software businesses can scale so dramatically. But there's another side. Software requires development, security, maintenance, customer support, and constant improvement. A product that stops working can lose customers very quickly. So the business may operate without the founder writing code every morning. But it still requires a system of people and technology behind the scenes. 14. Newsletter businesses. A newsletter can begin with one person writing every issue. But eventually, the business can become much larger than the writer. Writers can be hired. Advertising can be sold through a sales team. Email delivery can be automated. Subscriptions can renew automatically. Content can be scheduled. The owner can move from being the worker to being the publisher. And that's the transformation we're really talking about. The owner stops being the machine. The system becomes the machine. 15. Online marketplaces. Consider a website that connects buyers and sellers. The owner doesn't necessarily own the products. They don't manufacture them. They don't personally sell each item. They operate the platform that connects the participants. Revenue can come from transaction fees, subscriptions, advertising, or other services. The most powerful part is that customers and sellers create much of the activity themselves. But these businesses have a major challenge. They need both sides of the marketplace. Buyers need sellers. Sellers need buyers. Without enough activity, the platform can become an empty digital room. 16. Franchise businesses. Here's a model many people overlook. A franchise allows an owner to operate under an established brand and business system. Restaurants, fitness centers, cleaning services, automotive businesses, and other franchises can be operated by hired managers. The owner doesn't have to personally serve every customer. But there are trade-offs. Franchise fees can be significant. There are operating rules. There are brand requirements. And the owner still carries financial risk. The benefit is that you're buying into an existing system rather than inventing everything from scratch. The downside is that you're paying for that system. And now we get to a business that can be even more automated. 17. Coin-operated arcades and entertainment. Arcade machines, claw machines, photo booths, and other self-service entertainment equipment can operate with minimal staff depending on the location and setup. Customers pay. They use the machine. The business earns revenue. The operator monitors performance, handles maintenance, and manages the location. But once again, location is everything. A machine in a crowded entertainment center is completely different from one sitting in an empty building. The machine is only valuable when people want to use it. 18. Mailbox and shipping centers. A mailbox business can generate recurring payments from customers who want a stable mailing address, package receiving, or related services. The customer pays monthly. Many processes can be standardized. Employees can handle the physical operations. The owner can focus on management, pricing, marketing, and finances. It's not completely passive. But recurring customers make the business easier to systemize than many businesses where every sale starts from scratch. And now we get to one of the most powerful categories of all. 19. Solar and energy infrastructure. Imagine owning an energy-producing asset. Solar panels generate electricity. Depending on the arrangement, the system can produce value without someone physically operating it every morning. Technology monitors performance. Maintenance can be outsourced. Payments or energy savings can occur over long periods. But the economics depend heavily on installation costs, financing, location, electricity prices, incentives, equipment lifespan, and the specific agreement. So this isn't a guaranteed money machine. It's an example of something bigger. A physical asset can continue producing economic value after the owner stops actively working on it. And that brings us to number 20. 20. A business built to be managed. This may sound like a strange answer. But it's actually the most important one. The 20th business is almost any business that has been deliberately designed so the owner is not required for every decision. Think about a cleaning company. At first, the owner cleans houses. Then they hire one cleaner. Then 5. A scheduler handles appointments. A manager handles employees. Software handles payments. Marketing brings in customers. Accounting is outsourced. Customer service is systemized. Eventually, the owner's job changes. They aren't cleaning houses anymore. They're managing the system that cleans houses. And that's the real secret behind all 20 businesses. It isn't vending machines. It isn't real estate. It isn't software. It isn't laundromats. It's separation. Separating ownership from labor. Separating the customer from the owner. Separating daily operations from decision-making. And separating revenue from the owner's personal hours. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If a business stops making money the moment the owner stops working, the owner may not actually own a business. They may own a job. There's nothing wrong with owning a job. Millions of Americans build successful careers that way. But a job pays you for your labor. A system can potentially pay you because an asset, process, team, or network continues operating. That's why some business owners spend years building something that eventually works without them. They aren't trying to avoid work. They're trying to build something that survives without their constant presence. And there's another side people often ignore. The less involved the owner becomes, the more important management becomes. Employees can make mistakes. Machines can fail. Customers can disappear. Costs can rise. Competitors can enter the market. Technology can change. Taxes, regulations, insurance, financing, and maintenance can all affect the numbers. So passive income should never mean free money. It means the owner's role can potentially shift from doing the work to owning and managing the system. And that shift can completely change how a person thinks about wealth. Because wealth isn't always about earning more per hour. Sometimes it's about building something that doesn't require another hour from you for every additional dollar it produces. So, what do you think? If you had the capital to buy or build one of these businesses, which would you choose? Self-storage, a car wash, rental property, vending machines, software, or something completely different? Share your opinion in the comments. And remember the biggest lesson from this entire list. The most valuable businesses aren't necessarily the ones that look the most exciting. Sometimes they're the boring ones. The parking lot. The storage facility. The laundromat. The equipment rental company. The software subscription. The simple machine sitting quietly in the corner of a building. Because the real question isn't whether a business can make money. It's whether the business can keep creating value without requiring the owner to personally do everything. That is the difference between owning an income-producing system and simply creating yourself another job. And once you understand that difference, you start seeing businesses completely differently. If you want to discover more hidden truths about money, subscribe to Money Explained Differently. We explore the financial stories behind the decisions that shape everyday life.